The draw was for a King of Hearts, and the unlucky recipient was announced with a chorus of triumphant shouts. It was Ethan. A wave of jeers and anticipatory laughter filled the cramped living room, the air thick with the smell of stale beer and pizza. Everyone had been waiting for the popular quarterback to finally get picked. Card was drawn from the dare pile. The instructions were read aloud with theatrical gravity. Kiss the person fourth to your left. A ripple of excitement went through the group as heads turned and people began to count. The final count, confirmed by 3 different people, ended with all eyes landing on me. The boisterous noise died instantly, replaced by an awkward, heavy silence. I was tucked into a corner of the couch, and from my vantage point, I could see the sharp line of Ethan's jaw tighten. After a moment that stretched for an eternity, someone finally broke the tension, suggesting they just forget it and draw another card. Chloe, the student council's event coordinator, who was known to have a major crush on Ethan, quickly agreed, adding that he was a guy, and her sentence trailed off, but the implication hung in the air. Everyone here knew I was gay, and everyone knew Ethan Cole was notoriously, uncomfortably straight. The suggestion was met with a mix of agreement and protest. A few voices argued that a dare was a dare, and that they should just get on with it. The chant started low, then grew louder. Quiche, quiche, quiche. I lifted my gaze to meet Ethan's across the room. He was already staring at me, his expression intense and unreadable. I offered him a small, challenging smirk. It was his dare after all. He could back out if he wanted to. The next thing I knew, Ethan was on his feet, crossing the room in 3 long strides. He was tall, well over 6 feet, and when he stopped in front of me, he blocked out the light from the lamp behind him. The sheer physical presence of him was overwhelming. He leaned down, his voice a low grit, like he was being forced into it. He asked if it was okay to kiss me. The room was so quiet that the sound of his breathing was audible. His eyes were locked on mine, fierce and unwavering. I just grinned and gave a simple nod of assent. The moment the word left my lips, he leaned in further. There was a brief, surprising warmth against my mouth, a fleeting pressure that was gone as quickly as it came. Ethan straightened up immediately, turned on his heel, and bolted from the apartment, leaving a stunned silence in his wake. Before I even made it back to my dorm, the story had already exploded on the campus social media feed. My friend Leo was blowing up my phone. His texts were a series of capitalized questions about what it felt like to kiss the Ethan Cole. I told him it was nothing, just a quick peck. He lamented what a loss it was to the gay community if we ended up together. I reminded him of Ethan's well-known homophobia, and that seemed to end the conversation. I walked back to the dorm slowly. The man who had kissed me and then fled was just emerging from our shared bathroom. A towel was slung around his neck, covering his wet hair, but he was fully dressed in sweats and a t-shirt. The moment he saw me, he flinched, then practically leaped onto his bunk without a word, pulling the privacy curtain shut with a sharp tug. My other roommate, Ben, peered over from his desk and quietly asked if we had gotten into a fight. I shook my head and explained the situation. Ben just nodded, understanding immediately. Ethan and I had been roommates since the start of the semester. I'd never made a secret of my sexuality, so it didn't take long for the whole campus to know. It had certainly reached Ethan, who seemed to want to maintain a 10-foot bubble around himself whenever I was near. He was always careful, like now, to be completely covered up when he came out of the shower, as if he feared I'd pounce on him at the sight of an uncovered ankle. It was ridiculous. I grabbed my clothes and headed for my own shower. When I came out, toweling my hair dry, I was surprised to see him on the balcony hanging his towel. He must have heard the bathroom door open because his movements became stiff and hurried. He finished his task without looking back and retreated. I was used to his strange behavior. As I walked past him, I heard him take a sharp, deep breath. His voice was a strained whisper, incredulous. Why wasn't I wearing a shirt? I glanced down at myself, clad only in a pair of boxers. I pointed out that we were both guys, so it shouldn't matter. He was speechless, a dark flush creeping up his neck. Seeing his discomfort, I sighed and held the towel over my chest as a concession. I explained that I hadn't expected him to be there. Ben was already asleep, and our other roommate was gone for the weekend. I had assumed the dorm was empty when my clean shirt fell into a puddle in the bathroom. There was no response from behind me, so I went to my closet to get a new shirt. I turned around and asked if he was going to bed, adding that I was about to change. His muscles were tense, and his eyes were fixed on a spot on the floor. In a hoarse voice, he asked if I couldn't change in the bathroom. I told him it was too steamy in there. I gave him a choice. Either he could get back in his bed or I was changing right here. The next second, a blur of motion passed me as Ethan scrambled up the ladder to his bunk. During our lecture the next day, Leo leaned over, whispering that Ethan was staring at me again. He'd been doing it for 2 days, this intense, unsettling gaze that made the back of my neck prickle. Leo wondered aloud if I'd somehow broken him with that kiss. I rolled my eyes, telling him to trust in my charm rather than Ethan's supposed fragility. Still, his constant scrutiny was starting to affect my reputation, with people assuming I'd done something to him. I needed to talk to him, but he was like an expertly programmed Roomba, changing his path the second he detected me in his vicinity. I barely even saw him in the dorm anymore. That night, I finally caught him. I saw him walking ahead of me on the path back to our building and quickened my pace to catch up, grabbing his arm to stop him before he could dodge away. He spun around, and his expression shifted the moment he saw it was me. I felt his bicep harden under my fingers. He demanded to know what I wanted, his voice as rigid as his body. I let go of his arm and apologized, explaining that I just wanted to talk. I asked if he had a problem with me lately. He stood there, his head slightly bowed. There was no denying he was classically handsome, the kind of guy who looked like he'd been sculpted. We were standing close, and I could see the muscles in his chest rise and fall with each breath. I quickly shifted my gaze back to his face, afraid he would notice and react badly. That's when I saw it. His eyes weren't looking at mine. They were fixed on my lips. He seemed completely lost in thought. A strange feeling tightened in my chest. Had that meaningless party dare actually affected him? I took a cautious step back. The movement seemed to break his trance. He finally looked me in the eye and calmly said he didn't have a problem. I pressed him, telling him to stop staring at me like he was planning my murder. He paused, his gaze flickering down to my mouth again before meeting mine. Then, he licked his lips and said quietly that it had been his first kiss. I was momentarily stunned. His first kiss? The one from the party. It was hard to believe Ethan Cole was that inexperienced. For me, it had just been a game. But for him, a stubbornly straight guy, to have his first kiss be with another man, I could see how that would be a shock. Then again, he was the one who lost the game and followed through on the dare. I hadn't forced him. I crossed my arms, my tone cool, reminding him that he hadn't refused at the time, so there was no reason to cause trouble for me now. He looked down, his arms tensing. I took another step back, just in case. After a long moment, he clarified that he wasn't trying to cause trouble. He was just thinking about something. I didn't press for details. Something told me it was better not to know. After our conversation, the staring stopped, and our roommate dynamic returned to a semblance of normalcy. Around the same time, rumors started flying that Chloe was actively pursuing Ethan. One evening, I overheard Ben teasing him about it, asking if he wasn't tempted by such a beautiful girl chasing him. Ethan didn't answer. I opened the door and walked in. The second he saw me, Ethan, who had been sitting calmly at his desk, shot up, kicked off his shoes, and vanished behind his bed curtain. The desk chair was still spinning from the abrupt movement. The following weekend, Leo invited me to a bonfire. I packed a small bag, but when I arrived, it was a huge gathering, not the small get-together he had described. He pulled me into the crowd, explaining that it was a singles mixer. I tried to refuse, but he was insistent. I found a quiet corner, put my bag down, and settled in to be invisible for the rest of the night. Besides a few friendly people offering me food, no one bothered me. The next morning, most of the group went on a hike, but I decided to head back to the dorm. I opened the door to the sight of a half-naked Ethan. He was wearing only a towel wrapped low around his waist, his muscular chest and abdomen fully exposed. He had one hand on the bathroom doorknob and froze when he saw me, a look of shock on his face. This was a new development. I casually walked in, closing the door behind me, and raised an eyebrow, asking him why he was walking around without clothes on. My question was answered by the sound of the bathroom door slamming shut. Later, as I was getting ready for class, an upperclassman named Ryan stopped me. He had been the one to offer me food at the bonfire. He was friendly and charming, and we walked together towards the academic building. He asked if I was free for dinner that night, and I agreed. As we parted ways on the third floor, I looked up and saw Ethan standing at the top of the stairs, watching me, his face like stone. I ignored him and walked past into my classroom. After a pleasant dinner with Ryan, he walked me back to my dorm. I was texting with Leo on my way up the stairs when a dark figure suddenly blocked my path. I jumped, startled, then realized who it was. I snapped at Ethan, asking him what his problem was, lurking in the dark. He was in his pajamas, his large frame filling the narrow stairwell. He didn't move or speak. I put my phone away and asked what he wanted. In a sudden movement, he grabbed my wrist and pulled me up the last few steps. I stumbled, my back hitting the wall. He pinned my hand above my head and used his other hand to cup my chin, forcing me to look at him. He was like a cornered animal, his eyes blazing. He demanded to know if I had been on a date with him. When I asked who, he clarified he meant Ryan. I told him it was none of his business and to let me go. His face was inches from mine, and I could feel his breath on my skin. Then he said something that made no sense. He told me I had to be responsible for him. I asked him what he meant. For my first kiss, he growled. I laughed in disbelief, asking him how I was supposed to be responsible for that. Was I supposed to pay him back? At my words, his breathing hitched. I realized he was serious. As he leaned closer, I panicked and told him to stop. I demanded to know what he really wanted. His voice dropped to a hoarse whisper. To kiss you. I struggled, but he was too strong. He reminded me that I'd said it was okay to kiss me that night at the party. I told him he was being ridiculous. He pulled back slightly, his eyes still locked on mine. The sound of him swallowing was loud in the quiet stairwell. Then he said it. I like you. I was completely thrown. I asked him what he said, and he repeated it slowly and deliberately. Like you. His grip on my wrist loosened. I reached up and felt his forehead, checking for a fever. He let me, his gaze never wavering. My own heart began to race. Before he could notice, I shoved him away with all my strength and ran. The next day, everything changed. Ethan went for a run and brought me back breakfast. He came out of the shower wearing just a towel, deliberately parading around the room. Ben watched, his eyes wide in disbelief, wondering if Ethan had been possessed or cured of some long-term illness. I took the breakfast he offered me and put it back on his desk, asking him what he was trying to do. He slowly buttoned up his shirt, the clean scent of his shampoo filling the air. He looked me straight in the eye and said he wanted to pursue me. Ben was so shocked that the piece of bagel he was eating fell out of his mouth. I just sighed and called him insane. In class, a figure sat down in the empty seat next to me. It was Ethan. The chatter around us quieted. Leo immediately started bombarding me with texts, a flurry of question marks and exclamation points. I gave him the short version of the story, which silenced him for a moment before he asked if I'd actually done something to turn the star quarterback. He was right about one thing, though. Ethan was relentless. He pursued me openly, causing the campus social media feeds to explode all over again. A message from Ryan popped up, asking if I wanted to see a new sci-fi movie. I politely declined, citing a heavy workload. He then suggested lunch, and I looked up to see him standing behind me, smiling. I agreed. In the cafeteria, Ethan appeared and sat down at our table without an invitation. A moment later, Chloe arrived, placing a drink in front of Ethan and asking him about a basketball team party. Ethan wordlessly pushed the drink away. She left without a fuss. After Ryan left, Ethan produced a bottle of water and offered it to me. I refused. His voice was low and hurt when he asked why I would eat with another guy but wouldn't even take a drink from him. He looked down, suddenly appearing vulnerable and pitiful. It was a strange and unsettling transformation. I made a quick escape. That afternoon, Leo informed me that all the negative posts about me online had been deleted. He sent me a screenshot of a post from Ethan, made under his real name. It contained nothing but a list of the user IDs of everyone who had been slandering me. They were all silent now. That night, Leo called me, telling me he had found Ethan drunk and passed out on a bench near the dorm. He said he had a date and that if I didn't come get him, Ethan would be sleeping outside. Annoyed, I went down to get him. He was lying on the bench, barely conscious. When he saw me, his eyes lit up, and he stumbled to his feet. He was so drunk. I helped him back to the dorm and pushed him into the shower. He came out a while later, wrapped in a towel. I handed him his pajamas and told him to get dressed and go to bed. He just stood there, holding the clothes, his eyelashes still wet from the shower. I told him I was going to bed. He grabbed my hand and pressed it flat against his chest. He told me to feel it. My hand froze. He tilted his head, asking if I liked it, saying he'd let me touch him if I did. He must have noticed me looking before. My face grew hot. He squeezed my hand, rubbing it against his firm pectoral muscle. I snatched my hand back and told him to just go to sleep. His eyes grew sad. He asked if I didn't like it. To get him to bed, I finally relented and said I liked it. A goofy smile spread across his face, and he told me to touch it again. I sighed, quickly patted his chest, and told him to sleep. He smiled, his eyes never leaving my face. He said he liked me so much. The heat rose in my face again. He kept repeating it over and over, that he liked me, the kind of like where he only liked me. It took a lot of coaxing to finally get him into his bed. The next morning, I woke up to find breakfast on my desk. Ethan thanked me for the previous night, making it clear he remembered everything. Later, Leo called to fill me in on the gossip. Apparently, Chloe had gotten Ethan drunk trying to get him to confess his feelings for her, but he had rejected her completely. She had then gone on to blame me for everything. That afternoon, I was walking with Leo past the basketball court when I heard a sudden rush of air. A basketball flew out of nowhere and slammed into my forehead. The world tilted and I staggered. Leo caught me, his voice frantic, saying we needed to get to a hospital. Before he could help me, a figure sprinted from the court. The next thing I knew, I was being lifted into the air. It was Ethan. He carried me, one arm securely around my legs, the other supporting my back and cradling my head. I had a slight concussion. The doctor advised a few days of rest and one night of observation at the hospital. In the ward, Leo was furious, saying Chloe had done it on purpose and that we should call the police. My head was throbbing, so I just nodded. While Leo was outside making the call, Ethan sat by my bed, his expression dark and fierce. He asked if I was okay and told me to get some sleep, promising he would stay. I closed my eyes and drifted off. The security cameras on the court confirmed that Chloe had thrown the ball intentionally. After mediation with campus security, she apologized, paid for my medical bills, and received a formal from the school. Outside the security office, she approached Ethan, offering a tearful apology. He told her I was the one she needed to apologize to. She then turned on me, her voice shrill, screaming that it was all my fault, that I had seduced him. My wrist grew warm as Ethan took my hand and stepped in front of me. His voice dangerously low as he told her to watch her mouth. Chloe became even more hysterical, asking how he could defend me, claiming he wouldn't even like men if it weren't for my influence. I couldn't help but laugh. I asked her if the person she liked wasn't a man, or if Ethan wasn't a man. Then, in front of her, I hooked my arm around Ethan's neck and asked him if it was okay to kiss him. He stared at me, his pupils dilating for a second. I smiled, pulled his head down, and kissed him soundly. When I pulled away, I asked him how it felt to like a man. A slow smile spread across his face. He said that liking me felt damn good. Chloe ran off, her face a mask of fury. I started to remove my arm from his neck, but he caught my hand and put it back. He wrapped his other arm around my waist, pulling me close. He asked what came next. I played innocent. He frowned, reminding me that I had just kissed him. He said that now I had to be responsible. I readily agreed. He looked at me, a hint of disbelief in his eyes. I nodded, confirming it was real. He declared that I was his boyfriend now, and my first duty was to delete Ryan's number from my phone.